Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and recently I've been inundated with requests to cover Cyberpunk 2077, or more importantly, CD Projekt Red, over a situation instigated surrounding the Cyberpunk 2077 video game. This situation has landed the Polish games company smack dab in the middle of the social justice wars with no easy way out again. For transparency, I had no real interest in covering this because realistically I really didn't deem it to be newsworthy. That all changed though when I found out that a member of the CD Projekt Red team may have been doxxed. Now, if you are incapable of withstanding criticism, or if you are incapable of hearing a person's views if they differ from your own, I suggest you depart now. But for those of you that wanted my opinion, stick around. You will get it, I guarantee you that. And I know this video will most likely cost me subscribers, that's fine. This is one of those instances where to couch things in a way other than to be completely honest would be to violate my own ethics, and I will not do that for anyone. However, before I go into full rant mode, let's take in the facts, shall we? The entire situation got started over this single response tweet stating, "Did you just assume their gender?" This is a meme joke that has been around for a very long time, and its origins are very much couched in mocking feminists and social justice warriors for being overly sensitive in relation to the LGBTQ community and gender identification. It's a fairly well-known meme that's been around for a couple of years now. As a result of this statement, there was a very vocal backlash from the social justice community, which caused CD Projekt Red to delete the joke and post an apology on Twitter. This apology was met with a very mixed response, some people stating that they were completely offended and no longer buying the game while also demanding assurances against future statements, some trans people being offended, other trans people being perfectly fine with it, some people accepting the joke and the apology, and some people calling on them to employ training in order to prevent future transgressions. And then there was the supposed doxing of the person who posted the meme joke to begin with. Now, I can confirm that this was not a disclosure of a person's personal information. There was no address, no phone number, nothing of that nature. However, the user Matt Wilson CSS on the web forum Reset Era did post the person's personal Twitter account while stating that they were not doing so for the purposes of mobilizing, merely putting a face to the person posting the joke and what they deemed as a non-apology. That post has since been deleted, and after Matt Wilson CSS posted that CD Projekt Red employee's Twitter account in a direct attempt to not mobilize against them, they were called out for attempting to instigate a witch hunt, in which they replied, stating that it was only a witch hunt if the person was innocent. As a result of this Reset Era thread, it was tallied that there were 36 permanent bans with over 60 non-permanent bans of accounts of the website of people defending CD Projekt Red, and the discussions there implied that anyone defending CD Projekt Red or offering a different opinion than those offended were being banned as a matter of course. So those are the overall facts of the situation in my opinion. Well, outside of this being completely ridiculous and moronic, I find myself to be a bit angry. You see, I can understand a person not finding a joke funny, but to find oneself so utterly offended over words on a social media account I find to be a bit disgusting, and I'll tell you why. Well, once upon a time, in a bygone era, there was a little phrase that dealt with situations like these. It was something that I learned as a child, and it is something that I've taught my own daughter as well. Now, that phrase goes, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." It is a saying that has sadly been forgotten in recent years. Now we have people that perceive mere words, even those delivered in jest, as causing actual harm. That a meme is somehow equivalent to punching someone in the face. And I find that type of extreme fragility to be very off-putting, but there it is. These people that are so easily offended have learned one singular lesson over the course of the past several years that they should have never learned. They've learned that to act like a child is not only socially acceptable, but it is even encouraged. They sit there and make demands because their own sense of self-worth has been so mortally wounded by a simple sentence that they believe they have the right to make demands of a company over it. That they have the right to demand assurances that steps and measures will be taken to ensure that their feelings are not hurt again. That company will spend time, money, and resources in order to engage in training because they want to know that this company will respect their feelings and their wishes despite what anyone else might think. Oh my God, people, the arrogance of it all. The unmitigated condescension and self-righteousness to make demands of a person or a company in order to appease your own bruised ego. It is, by its very definition, authoritarianism. These people making those demands are not the moral arbiters of what is right and just in the world. No one is. Not them, not you, and certainly not me. I get it. I do. You don't think it was funny. So what? Some people did, and some people think it was in poor taste. But the idea that this is somehow causing harm? Harm implies injury. No one was harmed in the making of this tweet. You know what would have happened if everyone had simply ignored a joke made in bad taste? It would have disappeared into the void of your Twitter feed in about 10 seconds, most likely never to be seen again. But you didn't think it was funny. Okay, you're not the only person on this worthless planet, and your opinion is not the only one that matters. To even assume otherwise is the height of arrogance and selfishness. Not even all trans people thought it was offensive. Those that were offended by this chose to make a big deal out of it because they seem to survive and thrive on an activist culture, rallying out against anything and everything that they disagree with. I didn't like the joke. I didn't think it was particularly funny. On my Twitter feed, I see jokes against white people, straight white males, cisgendered straight white males, and all sorts of other nonsense that people direct against me and people like me. Every once in a while, I prod it with a stick, I'll admit. Sometimes I do it because it gets under my skin. Other times I do it in the vain hope that the person at the other end might actually think about someone other than themselves for a moment. Other times I do it just because I feel like trolling someone I think to be a moron. But the vast majority of it I just ignore and let it go on down my feed, never to be seen again. And guess how much of that stuff I actually remember a day or two later? None of it. The joke isn't even overtly transphobic. In fact, to claim the sentence, "Did you just assume their gender is transphobic," is to exclude gender non-binary and gender non-conforming. But it's no surprise, really, at least not to me, because those offended think it's about them. Now, I normally like it when people send me tips on videos, but this I decided to do a video on because of the sheer number of people wanting me to, the majority of whom I'm most likely just thoroughly offended. But they wanted my opinion, or so they said. We all know that isn't true, though. Many of them merely wanted a nice big dose of confirmation bias to make them feel better about their own outrage. Well, you got my opinion instead. My opinion is that instead of allowing one's psyche to become so completely fragile that it is capable of being shattered by a mere sentence made in jest, instead rub a little dirt in the wound, as it were. Build up that mental immune system, because quite frankly, if that offends you so much that you would attempt to call down a hate mob on a person while claiming you were doing otherwise and ban anyone that disagrees with you just because they disagree with you, then you will not be able to make it very far in this world. You will have to be carried by others for as long as you live, and for you, maybe that's okay. But that sort of thing is just not who I am, and it's not something I can ever respect. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.